Hi parents, I'm Annette from Preschool 2, and today I'm going to demonstrate the Approaches to Learning activity from Tuesday week 2, which is today. So this one is about repurposing recycling, making it into something new. So what it asks you to do first is to engage in a discussion with your child about what kind of recycling around the house that you have that you can make into something else. You might have to, depending on your child's previous experiences and age, you may have to describe to them what recycling is. The way that I introduced it to my preschoolers when we did a recycling study was that recycling is things that we don't use anymore that we turn into something new. And this one in particular focuses on a more artistic or even constructive element of making things out of recycling, and this is definitely an activity you can build on later on. So help them to look around and to find some recycling. Be very careful with the materials you choose. I would advise against things like plastic bags, anything that they can cover their heads or faces with. And if there is something that you're not sure about, maybe start with some easier materials first that you know they can handle without injuring themselves. And there are also things like you might be tempted to use like tin cans or can lids or like soup cans and stuff. Soup cans should be fine as long as the edge is no longer sharp. I would not use aluminum cans, at least not at this age, or can lids, because those can and will cut easily. With a hollowed out can, like a soup can that's empty, to be safe, I would recommend sanding down the edges of where the lid was pulled off before using it. So for now, you might just want to stick to some simple materials. I gathered some toilet paper rolls. Make sure they're clean. You can also use paper towel rolls, but I don't have one right now. Some foam, some packing paper, bubble wrap. Now this one does fall into the category of children can cover their faces with it, so this one you might want to use discretion with, and for any activity like this, you always want to use direct supervision, so your eyes are on your child the entire time to make sure that they're safe and not doing something that can harm themselves. So there's that. A lid from a fast food container. It's plastic. Paper cardboard. I also have some regular cardboard boxes, one flat and one open, or one not flat, I guess, rather. And some paper bags, and in this paper bags I have paper shreds. So you don't have to have this much stuff. I mean, this is just what I found around my apartment, and oh, also a water bottle. This is just what I found around my apartment and thought would be good, or that I've used with my own students before. And this is, I really love this activity, because when I put materials like this out in my preschool classroom, my preschool 2 classroom, the things that my students made like blew me away. I mean, you get really creative stuff with this. Okay, so once you have your materials, gather them up and put them out on a table. Maybe you want to cover the table in some newspaper, or if you have extra packing paper, spread it out, put it on the table to keep it safe and clean, because it could get messy. And ask your children to look at the items that you've put out on the table and ask them, what do you think we could do with these? What do you want to make out of this? They might give you some extravagant ideas, like maybe an airplane, like a real size airplane, or a big tree house or something. You can definitely make like a little fort out of huge boxes if you have them around. But if you are kind of new to this and you're not quite sure how to go about it yet, I would stick to some smaller items just to get you and your child exploring. So, you know, if they want to build an airplane or something big like that, you can say maybe, well, I'm not sure if we can build a big airplane today, but why don't we practice doing a small airplane? And, you know, just let them go with it. Go with any, I mean, they don't even have to know what they're making. Maybe they'll say, I don't know. So, I mean, that's fine. Just encourage them to explore the materials and to use them in ways that they would like to. When I do this activity with my preschoolers, I put out liquid and stick glue, scissors. The children have safety scissors, and if they need something cut, like a cardboard or something that the child safety scissors won't cut through, I will come over and use the teacher scissors and give them some help there. Or for my older ones who have mastered the safety scissors and know how to be safe, I will sometimes let them have a turn with the teacher scissors, just under direct supervision again. I also put out markers, crayons, paint, sometimes collage materials, so like tissue paper, pieces of streamers, maybe old magazine clippings, you know, pom-poms, anything like that. But it doesn't have to be fancy. If all you have is some glue and markers, I mean, that's fine. They'll figure something out to make with that, trust me. So just let them explore, let them put things together, let them kind of play around a bit. You know, if they run into any difficulty, be sure and ask them first, well, what do you think we can do to help you with this problem you're having? So maybe they can't get the flaps of the box to stay up or to stay down when they're doing something inside of it. You can brainstorm ideas together, like, I wonder how we can get the flaps of the box to stay down when you're working inside. What do you think we could do? And, you know, throw some ideas out there together. Don't just give them the solution right away, because we want to get them thinking about this stuff and to really, you know, use those thought processes, even if they're not coming to the conclusion that you're thinking of, and maybe they come up with an idea that won't work, still let them try it. It's important for them to kind of try and make mistakes and try again. Encourage them to keep trying. You know, it doesn't have to be for every single thing that, you know, like, oh, well, I figured out to keep the flap down, I need a piece of tape, but when I put the tape on, it won't stay. I mean, it doesn't have to be every single thing you brainstorm about. The more the better, but for that you can say maybe something like, well, maybe we need some stronger tape. And you can get out, if you've been using like the standard invisible tape, the office tape, you can get out some packing tape or something. But as much as possible, encourage them to think, encourage them to come up with their own ideas. You can add input. Input is always good, but it should be building on their ideas. So say they want to make a robot, and you can expand on that by saying, I wonder, how could we make a robot? What do you think? Which parts does a robot need? And you can even get a piece of paper and write a list. I mean, the possibilities for this activity are literally endless. That's why it's such a great activity to do together, especially if, you need something to occupy them for a while, because in my experience, most children will work on this for a long time, and my older preschoolers would even work on their creations over 2 or 3 days. So depending on your child's interest level and where they're at cognitively with this, like development wise, it might be a 1-day thing, it might be a 2-day thing, never know. There are always some standard things you can do. A lot of the times we like to tape these together and make binoculars. We like to take the tissue boxes and put rubber bands on them and make a little guitar. And those are of course classics, and we like to make them in our summer camps and classrooms and at home because they're so easy and we already know how to do it. But if you start with those kinds of things before you let your child explore other options, then every time you ask them, what could we make out of paper towel rolls, they're going to say binoculars, and they're not going to think of anything else. So I would encourage you to start with what we call open-ended ideas first, which means the end product is not something that you have in mind. It's not something that you're trying to get to, because it's really more about the process and not the product, which means that the actual making is the most important part. It doesn't matter if it comes out and it looks like nothing you can identify, or it's just kind of a mess of ripped up pieces of materials or anything, because what's important is that your child has been using these materials, has been figuring things out, has been using their hands and fingers to do so, has been using their imagination, and you want to encourage them to sit and you want to encourage them to focus on the work and not what they make. And another part of that is when you're finished, instead of saying something like "good job," or you say something like, "Oh, that's really pretty," or "That's really nice." You want to use more specific words. So something like, "You worked really hard on that," or something like, "I really like how you put the streamers on the inside of the box." I had one student who used a cardboard box to make a diorama of her living room at home, and it was great. And I told her, like, "Oh, I really like how you made a model of your house, of where you live. I like how you use the streamers for curtains. I like how you use the little piece of paper for a couch," things like that. And also focus on, recognizing the work that they did put in. You worked so hard on that. You were able to glue those pieces together by yourself. You were able to cut out that paper by yourself. You were really strong tearing, or you tore those pieces apart, like, things like that. And it's not necessarily wrong to say things like, "Oh, that's beautiful," or "good job," but if that's all a child hears, they're not getting the they're not understanding what it is about what they did that was good. So that's really important to keep in mind. And I know it's a big paragraph of words. This is a long video. It's a lot of stuff. It could be a big mess. I mean, this is even something you could do outside if you want to cut down on the mess. But, you know, it's a really good opportunity for your child to explore and learn, and for you to spend that time with them and kind of get to know how they think. I mean, their thought processes and things like that. And I mean, as a teacher, I love these kinds of projects. I love just putting things out and seeing what my kids do with them, and offering, you know, clear feedback about what they're doing and how I like that. Because I mean, I really do. I get really excited when I see my kids, you know, making their houses, or, you know, making a barn or something like that. So I would really encourage you to try this. If not today, maybe it's something you could plan for the weekend. Maybe today you could start just gathering materials and talking about it. You can start making your lists of things that you might want to use. You know, again, it's just endless possibilities. So I really hope you try this. I really hope you have fun. Bye.